Senator Vance of Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank you and the ranking member for your work on this and just make a note about the amendment that you guys included in the manager's package, for which I'm grateful. We have a problem in this country, and the problem is that a banking system that I think has largely worked pretty well for a lot of small businesses, the mid-tier banking system that has, the three-tier banking system, I should say, where you have the big banks, of course, you have a lot of regional banks that do important financial services, but you also have community banks that do a lot of lending services that nobody else is willing to do. That system is under threat, and you can see it in the numbers of deposits that are migrating to the big banks, and you see it in a lot of other ways as well. One of the things I'm very worried about, of course, is that the regulatory burden of our financial system falls heaviest on the small and mid-sized banks. And the amendment that we proposed effectively would mean that if the FDIC takes a bank into receivership, we only allow a massive bank to buy the failed bank's assets unless there's no other alternative and there's no other buyer on the table. One of the things that we learned from the SVB crisis and much of the fallout is that the big banks have a lower cost of capital. They're able to absorb these things. But if that leads to concentration, and if we don't do anything to stop it, we're going to wake up in a country that has 3 or 4 massive banks and no small and regional banks for our financial system. That's a disaster for our country. It's a disaster for our small businesses and our consumers. And I think that we should do more, not just this amendment, we should do more to try to preserve the regional banking system in our country. I think it's good for our people. It's good for our country. And we don't want to be like Europe, where they just have 2 or 3 massive national banks and no other alternatives for their consumers.
Thank you, Senator Vance.